To create this quilt-as-you-go orange pill, you will need 50 12-inch squares of fabric. That's about 5 2/3 yard of quilter's cotton. 9 fussy cut designs quilted to a 7-inch square of batting, or 4-inch embroidered designs embroidered on a quilted 7-inch square. I used Dakota embroidery. A machine Circlemaker attachment and stabilizer. The Circlemaker attaches to the sewing machine, usually with a screw or bobbin case cover. It assists the sewer in stitching a circular pattern using any forward-feeding utility or decorative stitch. The repositional tack is the radius of the circle. By moving the tack along the gauge, circles of many sizes may be sewn. The only responsibility of the sewer is to keep the area between the tack and the needle flat. This is achieved best when the fabric is very stable. As I do a lot of machine embroidery, I often have scraps of aqua mesh stabilizer. I dissolve those scraps in water and use the resulting mixture to drench fabric, which I then spread on a flat plastic covered surface and dry overnight. You could also use starch. Attach the Circlemaker to the sewing machine. Move the tack position for a 10-inch circle. Place 2 squares of fabrics right side together. Locate the center of those 2 squares by creasing diagonal lines from each corner. Set the tack in that location and stitch with a shortened stitch length with the needle in the center position. Stitch a second row with the needle in the far right position. Remove the stitched fabric from the tack and trim close to the outside circle. Mark the diagonal line of a 12-inch square of stabilizer and stitch a 10-inch circle. Carefully cut out the circle. Connect the lines where the circle intersects with the diagonal lines. This will give you the exact square that fits within your circle. This is much easier than calculating the math theorem and provides you with your template in one step. Fold back on one line of the stabilizer template. Use this line to mark where you will slit your single layer of fabric to turn the fabric circles right side out. Turn and press the circles, being careful to get crisp edges. Create a plastic template of the square with the center point also marked. Use the template with the fabric pen to draw the squares on the side of each circle with the slit. Carefully pin along those lines on 2 circles and sew them together. Create 3 rows of 3 circles and then attach the 3 rows together into 9 circles. These are for the 9 decorative quilted pieces. You may place them now, press over the seam circle seam allowance, and top stitch, or you can do the top stitching later. Sew together 2 more sets of 3 circles and attach to the top and bottom of the previous 9. Again, you may choose to top stitch down the curved part of that seam allowance, or wait to do all of the top stitching at the end. Stitch together 2 sets of 5 circles. These rows are then attached to either side of the center unit. Complete the quilt by top stitching down the circular seam allowances of all attached circles. You may choose to leave the outer edges as a scallop, or you can also fold them in and stitch down and end up with perfectly square edges. This is the top side of the completed quilt with 9 Dakota elephants embroidered and placed in the center. And this is the back side where all pieces look like squares.